Alright, so the early reactions for the Odyssey have now released online, now that the world premiere has taken place for the film, and surprise, surprise, the movie has rave reviews from pretty much everybody who has seen this movie early. So we're gonna go read through all of these reviews, we're gonna talk about them, we're gonna discuss them, because the hate train for this movie has been so over the top, so ridiculous, and really has stemmed from a bunch of nothingness, which we discussed in yesterday's video, where I talked about how all of this just pretty much stems off racism, if we're going to be completely honest. Okay, but let's go ahead and get into these early reactions. Let's talk about it. Let's go. So this first one right here comes to us from Brian Long Films on Twitter. Okay, and pretty much all of these we're going to get from Twitter, by the way. We're going to go ahead and get into this. It says, watching the Odyssey, I thought to myself, is this how people felt while watching Seven Samurai, Lawrence of Arabia for the first time? A grand epic about the act of returning, pulse-pounding, emotional, futuristic, Pattinson and Damon's best performances, loaded front to back. So, off the gate, all right, very strong review right there, but there's a ton of them that we're going to go through. And then I did see one negative review that I want to address towards the end of the video, so make sure you stay tuned for that once we get to the one negative review out of this swarm of positive rave reviews. Okay, but let's move on to the next one here from Eric Davis. Now, Eric Davis says, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey is an absolute triumph and a crowning cinematic achievement from one of the greatest filmmakers of our time. It feels like everything Nolan has been working toward with IMAX has culminated here. The production design is incredible, the action is breathtaking, and the scale is unlike anything he's done before. What really surprised me is how much he embraces horror. Some of the film's biggest moments are genuinely unsettling, adding a whole new dimension to his filmmaking while never losing sight of the humanity at the story's core. That's amazing. Just what I want to hear out of this film, which, by the way, I have been hearing more and more that there is going to be a certain sequence inside of this film, maybe multiple, but definitely one in particular that's like a straight up horror sequence from Christopher Nolan. It sounds fascinating. I can't wait to see it on the big screen. But let's go ahead and read Eric Davis's second part to his tweet, because this was quite a long one. He continues on here by saying, the cast is stacked and somehow everyone still gets a chance to shine. Anne Hathaway is incredible, Matt Damon is excellent, and Tom Holland continues to prove he could do just about anything, but Robert Pattinson absolutely stole the show for me. He is so conniving, manipulative, and endlessly entertaining to watch. Pattinson leans all the way into the character's villainy, and it results in one of my favorite performances of his. Look, it's the must-see cinematic event of the summer, and quite possibly the year. I can't wait to watch it again. So, crazy right there. Right? Amazing. Just what I want to hear coming out of this film. Now, this next one comes to us from someone by the name of Patrick, and they go ahead and say, The Odyssey is Christopher Nolan's crowning achievement. He fully commits to the myth, and it's unlike anything he has made before. This movie is strange, stunningly beautiful, and the cast is doing the best work of their careers. Do whatever you can to see it in IMAX 70mm. Now, unfortunately, your boy's not going to be seeing it in the top tier premium quality of IMAX 70mm, but still, I am going to be seeing this in IMAX nonetheless, and you can expect a review on the channel in the future once this movie officially releases in theaters for the general audience. Okay, let's continue on here with more positive reviews out of this film, because all of this is just amazing news. It's fascinating for any Nolan fan. So we're going to continue here with Variety. Now, Variety says, The Odyssey's first reaction are raves from Christopher Nolan's astonishing epic and flawless filmmaking, breathtaking, bold, and perfection. And Variety made multiple posts like this, by the way. You can go check out their website or their Twitter page and see everything that they had to say about the early reviews for this film. But continuing on here with someone else who also got to see The Odyssey early, by the name of Jake. Jake said, I saw The Odyssey last week. It's Christopher Nolan's most straightforward movie ever, and also maybe his most impressive, but the epic scale and attention to detail are absolutely stunning. The closest comparison I can think of to Peter Jackson's Lord of the Ring trilogy. Now, I've been seeing a lot of different early reviews and reactions to this stating that this is Christopher Nolan's Lord of the Rings. And that sounds absolutely fascinating. I love that that's the type of dialogue that's coming out of this movie, and that's exactly what I want to hear, because when you go back and watch those Lord of the Ring films, right, that trilogy is so strong, so powerful, and the true meaning of an epic, of a Hollywood epic of filmmaking. And so I'm expecting that here out of this film. Okay, let's continue on here though. because there's a lot more that we have to go through, and they're all interesting. Let's continue on here with an account by the name of Cinema Tweets, and they went ahead and said, developing, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey is being met with overwhelmingly positive reviews. Early critic responses have noted that Matt Damon and Robert Pattinson are excellent, and Nolan's use of IMAX cameras comes through in a resounding way. I'm seeing the film next Thursday, and I truly can't wait. I hope these early reviews are accurate. Hey, Cinema Tweets, I feel the exact same. Okay, I'm also seeing this film next Thursday, and I'm hoping all of these early reviews are true. I'm hoping that this movie lives up to the hype that I've been building it up to. Of course, there's the other side of the internet that's been trying to tear it down this entire time. You know, review bombing and dislike bombing the trailers that have come out for this film, all because there's like 2 black people in the movie and 1 trans person in the movie, right? Completely ridiculous if you are a sane human being, right? Without some ridiculous political agenda. But let's continue on here with Jazz Tan K, who went ahead and said, I have seen Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, and it is an astounding achievement, a triumphant, spectacular epic. The performances from Tom Holland, Matt Damon, Anne Hathaway, John, I don't know that last name, okay, Robert Pattinson, and Lupita Nyong'o are genuinely grand, and for some, truly the best performances of their career. That's exactly what I want to hear here. Okay, there was people complaining about how this is just stacked with A-listers. Why would you complain about that? A-listers giving their best performance of their careers, backed by one of the strongest directors we have of this generation, who's been on a crazy run for like 2 decades now. Why would anyone with an actual IQ who loves these movies have a problem with any of that? Let's be completely honest. Okay, but let's continue on here with more, because there's still more coming out, and we're going to read through all of them. Now, this next one's short and sweet by someone by the name of Joanna Robinson, and they went ahead and said, saw it, loved it. Ludwig is on another level with this one. Now, if you don't know who Ludwig is, that is going to be the person responsible for the soundtrack for this film, for the score of this movie. He worked directly with Christopher Nolan in creating a unique score to be the backdrop for this film, inspired by instruments that were used at that time. And man, I can't wait to hear what that's going to sound like in the theaters on the big screen. Okay, but here's another quick one for you that I wanted to highlight and throw in the video, because this is exactly how I'm feeling about the backlash that this movie has been getting from people who haven't even seen it and somehow have made up in their head that we're going to get a bad movie here out of Christopher Nolan before it's even released in theaters, right? Okay, by the name of Paul Tassi, they had to say The Odyssey's backlash is transphobia and racism under the guise of historical accuracy. That's it. And man, Paul Tassi, I couldn't agree more with that sentiment. Okay, that is exactly how I've been feeling going into this movie and just reading through all of the horrible backlash this movie's been getting. If you go to the trailer, if you go to any video criticizing this from Nerdrotic, Critical Drink, or whatever, okay, because those guys have kind of been the leaders in this hate train movement for this movie, it seems like. If you go to their comment section, just read through them. What are you going to see? Fatigue this, my fatigue has fatigue. You're going to see racist comment left and right. You're going to see Helen of Detroit instead of Troy, right? Because of who Lupita Nyong'o is playing inside of the movie, and etc., etc. Comments mentioning felons out of nowhere and just random racist stuff from the underbelly of the internet, which, like I said, we did a full video breaking a lot of that stuff down and covering some of those comments yesterday in the last video, so you can check that out. But yeah, let's continue on here with an actual review by someone by the name of SC Reviews. All right, they went ahead and said, I have seen The Odyssey. Not even the gods can prepare you for this film. Groundbreaking film and experience I'll never forget. That's exactly what I want to hear and what I'm expecting out of this movie. Okay, another person whose review was short and sweet by the name of Sean Fennessy. They said, I liked The Odyssey, and they kept it at that. Okay, very short and sweet, hilarious. But there's another one here, more fleshed out one that I want to cover, from Scott Mance. Now, Scott Mance said, Oscar-winning Christopher Nolan has another massive hit on his hands with The Odyssey, a stunning, exhilarating, fully immersive, and breathtaking epic in every sense of the word. Bravura filmmaking of the tallest order. It's a whole lot of movie, and you gotta see it in IMAX. Trust me, we are. Okay, we are, but thank you for sharing your opinion too on this movie. And by the way, under all of these early reactions and reviews, there's people under it talking about DEI, this and that, you know, pushing their political agendas and their hate for this movie. They are desperate. That side of the internet wants this movie to fail so bad that they are desperate for it to fail by any means necessary. They're trying their hardest to push these narratives, and sadly, I don't think they're going to work, okay? You tried the wrong one with Christopher Nolan here, and I think we could all see that based off these early reactions to the film. All right, but look, this is what someone had to say about all of the negative comments under these reviews. Someone by the name of Alex McReply. They said, every reply to this post is full of vitriol. The rage campaign against this movie is a level of brain rot I don't think I've ever seen before. Nobody's thinking for themselves, nobody wanting to see it first, just pure anger. Which is exactly what I've been saying the whole time. If this movie is bad, we will say that it's bad. I'll come on the channel and say that this movie was bad if it actually is, once I've seen it in theaters, right? But these people aren't even waiting for that. They're grasping at straws. They're picking 1 to 2 things they've heard about this movie based off cast selection, and they're running an entire hate campaign against the film, acting like it's going to be trash when it hasn't even released yet for the general audience to see. Like, what type of mass psychosis event is going on right now on this side of the internet? Because for the longest time, I didn't even see any of this. Okay, I was in my own echo chamber, if you want to call it that, because I was reacting to the trailers, reviewing this stuff on my own on the channel, bringing it to you guys, and just giving my actual opinion on this, forming my actual opinion, not jumping on a train, whether that's a positivity one or a negativity one in any way. I'm giving my real opinion on the channel, and you can always expect that out of us here on Demigod ENT going forward in the future, and on all the past videos we've made, by the way. Okay, now 2 more positive reviews that I want to go through, and then we will jump into the 1 negative review that I've seen for this movie so far in terms of the early reactions. All right, so someone by the name of Tom Holland, and no, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what, Spider-Man? Right? No, not that Tom Holland, not the one that's going to be starring in the Odyssey, right? We're talking about someone else who's actually just a film critic, to my understanding, with the exact same name, Tom Holland. He posted his reaction on Twitter too, which, by the way, of all people, the owner of Twitter, the richest man in the world, Elon Musk, replied to Tom Holland's tweet calling him a cuck. That's what he called him, because he said that the movie was good after his early reaction, which, by the way, Elon Musk getting both Tom Holland's mixed up, and him also jumping on this hate bandwagon, completely ridiculous. And he's definitely just doing it to push his own narratives and his own agendas, which, by the way, we know where Elon Musk comes from, right? If you don't, he comes from South Africa. If you know the history of South Africa, apartheid, and all of that type of stuff, you'll know exactly why he hopped on this bandwagon and this hate train too. But let's continue here with what Tom Holland had to say. He said, Christopher Nolan's fascination with time, homecomings, narrative complexity, and the moral ambiguities of heroism makes him the perfect director for the Odyssey. He then went ahead and replied to his own tweet, and he went ahead and said, lots of people are telling me the Odyssey is a terrible film on the basis of not having seen it. I've watched it twice now, and it is by some way the best cinematic adaptation of Greek myth I have ever seen. It honors Homer while simultaneously making something new of him. And that sounds great right there, right? Because going into this, the reason I'm excited is, 1, Christopher Nolan's one of my favorite directors of all time. I've grown up watching Christopher Nolan films since I was 7, 8 years old. And 2, I love Greek mythology. That was also something I was very invested in and interested in as a kid growing up. Those type of books always stood out to me, always appealed to me. It was always fascinating. So I'm glad that, he is actually doing a proper adaptation regardless of what they've been trying to say on the other side, right? Now, one more positive tweet that we'll go over is from actually a Christopher Nolan fan account titled Archives, and they had to say the first critic reactions to the Odyssey describe a breathtaking epic with stunning visuals, colossal IMAX set pieces, unforgettable performances, a phenomenal score by Ludwig, surprising horror elements, and what many are already calling Christopher Nolan's crowning achievement. Okay, so that was the positive reviews right there. Now let's go over the 1 negative review that I did see, because I had to go through a whole lot there, as you could see. All right, I was scrolling and scrolling, just looking at all the reactions. I had to go through a whole lot before I finally encountered the first negative review that I've seen out of this film by apparently someone who was at the world premiere. So let's go ahead and check out this negative review from someone by the name of Shady Honey Facts. And they went ahead and said, The Odyssey. I finished watching The Odyssey and it felt extremely dull and drawn out. Performances were great, but Tom Holland was easily the weakest for me. I expected this to be a role where he could show his range, but it didn't work. Not much else to say. say just disappointed. So after reading that, I was like, okay, you know, it's bound that we're gonna get at least one negative review out of this film. But then I scrolled a little more. All right, I scored a little more. I wanted to see what people were replying to her initial tweet, and this is what I found, because some people were saying under there that you didn't really see the movie. So she went ahead and posted some proof that she was at the world premiere by saying this right here: hating on me for liking a movie isn't cool of you, by the way. And then someone went ahead and replied to this, and I thought this was hilarious because they tear her apart. Let's go ahead and get into this. All About Movies says, wow, this person managed to have a hand that looks exactly like mine and got a photo of my invite to the Odyssey premiere from exactly the same angle as my photo and with the same person walking in front of it. Shame they blocked the comments to ask how. Oh my goodness, people are now LARPing that they've been to the world premiere just so that they can jump on the hate bandwagon, just so that they could push their own narratives and their own agendas that no, this movie is actually going to be a terrible movie and a dull experience, like she said there in her initial tweet. She's LARPing that she's seen the movie, and she got exposed by a quote tweet of someone who actually took the picture. As you could see in that initial picture, that was not a woman's hand there. And that dude completely broke her down there. I thought it was hilarious. I had to include it here in the video. We had to talk about it. But overall, guys, those were the early reactions for the Odyssey. And safe to say, I was right. Safe to say, we were right. This movie looks like it's going to be amazing, and we can be safe in putting our hype into this film. Now, again, don't overhype it to the fact where, you know, you walk in here and nothing you see on the screen is going to impress it because you've built it up in your head to such a crazy level here. But it sounds like we're going to get an epic. Who knows? Maybe it exceeds expectations. I'm hoping it does. And again, take all this with a grain of salt because we do have to see the movie ourselves as the general audience. And of course, like I stated before, I will come on the channel and give the official movie review. Whether it was good or bad, I'll be completely honest with you guys on the channel, as I always am in every single movie review I've ever done on Demigod ENT. Make sure you go watch the catalog of all the movie reviews we've done, especially the recent ones for Supergirl, right? That movie was trash, and I broke down exactly why. But more specifically, what I really want you to check out is my last video where we dove into all of the negativity, where it stems from, the racism, the bigotry, in this video right here. Okay, go check that one out. You can see exactly what we had to say there. But those are my thoughts on these early reactions. Let me know your thoughts on these early reactions for the Odyssey down in the comment section down below. If you don't know what we do here on Demigod ENT, we do film, TV, and pop culture based content. So if you're interested in this type of content, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Peace.